Hi, my name is Áshildur. I'm director of Visit Reykjavík. So, thank you for being a part of this and taking so good care of us in this BFU planning. I want to tell you a little bit about infrastructure and what's happening in tourism in Reykjavík. First, I'm going to go over some numbers, and then I'm going to tell you how we see the project within the capital area.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing happening?
No, you no.
Am I doing something wrong?
You need to use.
Okay. Okay. We have been doing some research since the year 2004 in the Keflavík Airport, in where we are asking travelers what they thought of the stay in Reykjavík, if they would like to Reykjavík to friends and families. We also asked them which places they went to, what kind of activity they did, and they also rate the activities that they use or tell us that they use. In 2016, we just got a report for the last year analysis, and up to 90% said that the stay was excellent or very good in the summertime, and 92% said that it's the same in the winter time, and only 1% said that their stay was bad, or their experience in being their stay was bad. We think that this is an extraordinary result, actually. There is though a little decline from the 2 or 3 years prior to these results, but it's not a decline over the whole period. 2013 was actually the best results, or the best, in 2013 we got the best results and were the most positive results that we have ever seen. Up to 99% of our guests say that they would recommend Reykjavík as a destination to their friends and families, and there is no decline in that result, and it has been the same since the year 2004, even though that the growth in tourism has been as we have seen it. So I think it's also something that we can be really, really proud of. And in 2016, 96% of our visitors said that they would recommend Reykjavík as a destination, and 94% of them that visited in the summertime said the same. As I said, we asked them, what do you do when you spend your time in Reykjavík? And 78% say that they went to a restaurant, and there's a really positive rates at restaurants in Reykjavík. Yeah, we think that culinary in Reykjavík is really special and delightful of all, and we're really proud of it. And we think that's something that we can do more of in our life, to let people know that we have a really excellent culinary. 59% said that they were shopping, 26% said that they took from Reykjavík, and same percentage said that they went to museums, and 31% said that they went to swimming pools or thermal pools. The thermal pools are always getting the highest grading amongst visitors, and the lowest is always the shopping. I think it's because we have maybe not as much broad variety of stores in Reykjavík as you might experience in other bigger cities around the world. I also think that one of the reasons is also the currency, and for a small decline in the rating for shopping and for restaurants in the report for 2016. And I think that's mainly because of the currency rate. Then we asked, as I said, we asked them what do you do, how to spend the time in Reykjavik. 73% said that they went to the harbor area, and it means that almost 1.2 or more than 1.2 million visitors went to the harbor area over the year 2016. 71% said that they saw the main shopping street there. 67% said that they visit the cathedral Hartistista. 50% went, 54% went to Harper Conference Hall, and 33% visited the city hall, and 70% or a small amount said that they went to Paris. In our report, we have a report in where we are looking for what the development is for Reykjavik as a destination over the period 2004 to 2016. And what we see is until 2011, overnight stays were double as many over the summertime than in the wintertime in Iceland as a whole. But in 2016, the overnight stays were on average 8.6 in the summertime, but 5.6 in the wintertime. It means that the overnight stays in the wintertime are growing, and I think it's really positive. It's in our hand with the growth that we have seen over the winter seasons, especially this year. Up to 95% of the visitors had an overnight stay in Reykjavik, and that means that almost everyone that visits Iceland stay in Reykjavik for shorter or longer periods of time. It means that, of course, we are facing very many challenges due to the growth in tourism that has been in Reykjavik alone. Up to 90% say that they stayed in Reykjavik over the winter season, and we see a difference in those that visit in the summertime and those that visit in the winter time, because we feel that those that come in the summertime, they mainly want to experience the nature wonders of Iceland, so they spend maybe 1 or 2 nights while they come into Iceland, and maybe 1 night before they leave the country. But in the winter time, most of them spend the whole time or almost all the overnight stays in Iceland in Reykjavik and take day tours from Reykjavik. That is mainly because when they are taking shorter vacations, they want to have a city life connected with the nature experiences that they are seeking for. Of course, they are mainly coming for the nature, but they want to experience the city life as well. What we have been doing to strengthening the winter season in Reykjavik is that we have been strengthening the event and festival calendar. That's a strategy that we decided to enforce in year 2013. And in the year 2016, we had up to 8 festivals in the capital area alone, and most of them are in the winter season. We at Visit Reykjavik, we have an event, we are responsible for the major events that are held in Reykjavik. We have an event team in my staff force, and we run the 6 major festivals within Reykjavik, and we are also the festival office that everyone come to when they are planning on having new festivals within the city. We work really closely with the major festival hosters in the city as well, for instance, Iceland Airways and Sonar and the Salmarts and so forth. So in Reykjavik alone, the overnight stays have gone from being 1.3 million in 2004 in being around 5.2 million in the year 2016. And that's just to tell you how it has affected us, the growth in tourism, especially in the winter season. We just have a new figures for the hotel rooms in Reykjavik, in the booking of the hotel rooms in Reykjavik for February 2017. And there were 95% of them were fully booked. I mean, we know that Reykjavík was fully booked over the summer season in 2016, and we get this. I mean, we feel it on our own skin because we run the Tourist Information Center in Reykjavík, the official Tourist Information Center. We had more than 500,000 guests coming into the Tourist Information Center in 2016. It's almost 1/3 of all the visitors that came to Iceland that came into our Tourist Information Center. I mean, they are looking for information on how to travel safely around the country, where to go, where to stay, how to spend their time, what are the interesting glaciers and activities, what are the interesting areas to visit, and what to do in Reykjavík as well. How can I spend the time and get the most out of being in Reykjavík? So we feel that we have a lot of responsibility for the tourism in Iceland as a whole, just by running this tourist information center. For the destination management planning for the Reykjavík capital area, we have 7 municipalities. Reykjavík, which is obviously the far largest the far largest city in Iceland. Then we have Kópavogur, the second largest capital or city in Iceland. Hafnarfjörður, Garðabær, Mosfellsbær, Seltjarnarnes, and Kjós. In these 7 municipalities, we have almost 2/3 of the inhabitants of Iceland. It's 230,000 or plus 230,000 inhabitants in the capital area alone. We had an introduction meeting, or Anna Katrin and we had an introduction meeting with the mayors of the municipalities in January, and we have decided that we will have a 1 steering group and a 1 DMP plan for the whole capital area. Then we want to have a working force, a task force, and an action plan for every municipality. So we now have a nomination from the municipalities for the steering committee. We also will have people from the cultural industry in Reykjavík, as well as from the Association of Tourism Companies. So we feel that we will have from 12 to 15 people in the steering committee. We have already advertised, funded an advertisement in the media, in where we are seeking for a project manager to be responsible for the DMP planning. And I hope that we will hire someone within the next 2 weeks or so. And I hope we will get someone that can start working with us as soon as possible, hopefully no later than at the end of April or the beginning of May. We are very accustomed to work together, the municipalities within the capital area. So I don't fear it. I don't see it as a hinder to working on the destination management planning with the municipalities. I actually think it's going to be something that will be will strengthen the relationship, will strengthen what we have already been doing as a capital region. And just to tell you what we have been doing since the year 2014, the mayors in the capital area decided that this Reykjavík would be the marketing organization for Reykjavík and the surrounding regions. So we are responsible for branding the whole capital area towards tourists abroad. Therefore, we decided to have a new brand for the capital area that was introduced in the year 2015, in where we have the slogan of the brand Reykjavík Gloves. We use it in really different ways. We use it when we are having festivals to say Reykjavík Gloves, Country Night, or Reykjavík Gloves Winterlights Festival, or whatever. We also use it very personally. We have a slogan that we see that the tourists like a lot. We say, Reykjavík loves you, for instance. And we have it we have some materials that we hand out to our guests, for instance, with this slogan, and we feel that they find it really personal and yeah. So we do a yearly strategical marketing planning. We have monthly meetings. This steering group for the marketing of Reykjavík as a brand. And there's a growing cooperation, for instance, in the event planning for the whole capital area. We, for example, worked really closely with the municipalities for Vinnustofa Festival that is held in February every year. And it meant that there was the Vinnustofa Festival has never been as great or provocative as it was this February. So I'm going to take some questions. This is a picture that was taken on the Vinnustofa Festival in February, where we had a mapping on the theater, and it brought a lot of attention, both from our citizens as well as from tourists and abroad. So thank you.
Can I just say one thing, observation? I actually think you're the European capital of festivals. And I say that coming from Edinburgh, which is the festival city.
Yeah.
but really, you have so many festivals. The very first time I came to Iceland, I came on a long weekend to Reykjavík and stayed in the Iceland Hotel by the harbour. And at breakfast buffet on a Sunday, I was standing next to John Lennon and Paul McCartney from the Bootleg Beatles band. And at the other end of the buffet was Bono and U2 from The Edge. I thought Bono at The Edge from the U2 tribute band. I thought, what's going on here? I thought I'd maybe eaten something at breakfast. But I really do think you are the festival's capital of Europe, especially in the But anyway, questions, discussion. I have one question after you have.
Nothing.
Okay. This is about discussion today, don't be shy. Well, I'm going to ask a question. Airbnb. Now, you've got to tell us about capacity. I keep hearing, we all know about the issues, the problems with Airbnb. They have an issue on lots of people, not people here. But we're seeing cities around the world, San Francisco, Paris, putting restrictions now on Airbnb, particularly buy-to-let, where you're not, it's not a room in the home, but you're actually letting out a whole house. How much of an issue is that here, and is anything going to change? Are there discussions about what are the issues around that?
Well, actually, it's a good question because, of course, we see it as a big challenge. Also, we know that we couldn't have had the growth in tourism if we wouldn't have had Airbnb. As you mentioned earlier, but there are also the same amount of apartments being rented out in the capital area or in Reykjavík alone as the number of hotel rooms that we have in Reykjavík. When we are having such a growth in tourism as we have seen in Iceland, you can't compete with the growth by building hotels and guest houses. I mean, it takes 2 to 4 years to build a hotel. So the Airbnb has been taking over as a possible overnight stay in Reykjavík. We have the government made a new legislation or strengthened the regulations for Airbnb, and that took place in January 1st. What we are seeing is that even though we feel that the new legislation is really good, we at the City of Reykjavík feel that what was needed but wasn't put into the new legislation is that we don't have any tools to monitor the Airbnb and to punish or how do you say?
Regulate
or even enforce it. So I was actually in a meeting last week with some of the cities in Europe that are seeing most challenges in Airbnb, where we had representatives from Madrid, Barcelona, Berlin, Amsterdam, Stockholm, and Paris. And what they told us is that the city themselves, they have their own tools to regulate. And that is the driving force in monitoring the Airbnb for the city. So we feel that what we need to do now is to push the government into reconsidering the legislation so that we will have the tools by ourselves. But the city of Reykjavík, we have a steering group at the moment working together, and we are making a strategy for Airbnb in Reykjavík. We feel that it will strengthen our insight into what's happening with the Airbnb. We can also maybe put into, hvernig segir maður aðalskipulag, við veitum hvernig það what? Yeah, the municipal planning, we can maybe implement some description into that. That's what we are looking for. But we also, because we have been doing surveys amongst the citizens of the whole capital area 2 years in a row, and we are going to do one in April as well, where we are trying to monitor how they see the growth in tourism and if it's affecting them positively or negatively. And we see a decline in positiveness from those that live in the city center. Mainly because of
surprise.
I mean, obviously it's because of this Airbnb, as well as all the buses that are crossing the small streets. We have until mid 2016, every bus could go into all areas and all streets of the city center to pick up and drop off people. It was like that they would just pick up people at every hotel in the city center. But now we have some we are trying to steer it from people being picked up and dropped off by the hotel. So we have now around the capital area, or no, the city center actually, we have parking spaces for the bigger buses, where they have to use, and they have to pick up people from there and drop them off there. We still have the smaller buses being able to go into the city centers and the small streets.
I had a very exciting ride last night on one of those small buses.
Yeah, okay, you did. So what but I think what the city, it's just my opinion, I think the city didn't take the steps as far as they should have. They should have put restrictions on buses as a whole within the city center, in my opinion. I think that every bus should have a drop on and drop off by the parking spaces.
I have a quick question about, in Iceland, there's a big discussion all over the world, and has been for many years, about visitor tax. Where is that in Iceland at the moment?
Well, that's also a big problem because in Iceland, the government has all the regulations and legislations. I mean, we are kind of pretty powerless when it comes to putting taxes or setting restrictions in any areas. We have been fighting at City of Reykjavík. We have been fighting for getting city taxes. Or getting a part of it. It all goes into the portion of it. It all goes to the government.
And it goes on general governmental activities. No allocation to tourism.
No, nothing. And we feel also, because as you know, 90 up to 95% of the visitors stay in Reykjavík for short or longer period of time. And we don't have any direct revenues as the city itself has no direct revenues from the tourism. Of course, we obviously get.
I'm just aware that I am going to be fined severely by Tom for mentioning finance and revenue.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one more question?
Yeah.
And this is a provocative question. Is there a tension between Reykjavik and the rest of the country in terms of the fact that Reykjavik gets a big part of the cake and the rest of the country gets the scraps? Is it an issue? It is? Yeah.
I think maybe also an issue is that a lot of travel companies are based in Reykjavik, and they collect people and take them around the country, show them the natural sites, and then they take them back home and they don't.
In the New Forest, we hate London because London holds on to all of the overseas money and all the overseas visitors, and there's a big effort at the moment by both parties to try and create a much deeper relationship, because the big problem for all of us is we want visitors, we want to hold on to them and get the most out of them, but that can affect the wider experience of the visitors to the country as a whole, because they only see the city. And also the fact that maybe London could attract more visitors if people who stayed in London also saw a bit of the rest of the country, and it would be a better offer. And I just wonder how far Reykjavik is in recognizing that opportunity to work more closely with the other areas.
Well, I want to tell you that we are working closely together. We have a regular meeting and where we have this discussion, both through Promote Iceland as well as through Stjórnstöðin and Ferðamálastofa. What do you call it in English? What's the name for you? Tourist board and Icelandic Tourist Board, and so. Okay, so and we actually in a meeting that we held in Ísafjörður with Diana, she was the host, in last spring, I told them that I feel that Reykjavík is getting so much out of the tourism that I don't want to see us as competing with other regions. I want to give to the other regions rather than just being selfish in a way. So, for instance, in the last brochure that was given out or printed by the Promote Iceland, we are on the last page of brochure. We also feel, as being running the Tourist Information Center, we want to be responsible in that way as well, spread people around the country as much as we can. But we also, of course, we know, for instance, we know that the attractions that we have in the south coast of Iceland are still the strongest. So obviously, the other regions, they have to step up if they want to get more tourists to the area, because they don't have the infrastructure. I mean, there are few countries. I think there are not many countries in the world in where you can take a day tour, as you can in the south coast, in where you can see all these. You can see 2 glaciers or more. You can see great waterfalls, geysers, black beaches, and so forth. So I think that's what maybe the other areas are lacking in a way, because they don't have glaciers, or it's not as sustainable unless maybe west of Iceland.
Yeah, I just just signed agreement that we're going to work together, and the main objectives for us, marketing strategy, is the common goal that everybody understands. Our main focus is creating awareness of every region. So, at least from my side of things, I really feel that of course, there's going to be debate on who's getting more awareness or awareness, and this is a long-term process. I really feel that it's a strength.
Yeah.
It Iceland that we have this very strong cooperation. I don't want to talk in a way that actually we have a really healthy and good debate on how we work together. Of course, the reason to go our way. So
the fact that you've recognised it is a major opportunity.
I also think it's important that we have personal contact. I mean, the communication is really short in Iceland, so it's no problem for Diana to call me and say, Áshildur, I feel you need to send more tourists to Reykjavík, or whatever, you know. And also in the last campaign that we did that promote, as you did, that promote Iceland, there was no image or nothing about Reykjavík. It was all about
The rest.
Yeah.
Good.
Because I would be kind of worried if you asked that question about that struggle and no one said anything.
No,
It would be bubbling under me.
Yeah.
I think we can talk about
this is an international problem
it.
for everybody.
Can something I'm very familiar with. I have been in a situation where politicians have asked me to give stuff away. I mean, it's very hard to manipulate the market and say, don't come to Reykjavik for the weekend, go to Hornstrand here.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not either or, it's both.
Yeah.
It's plus, and they're both mutually reinforcing strengths. Can I also give some credit though to Reykjavik? I think the very first time I came, and I was very impressed in the Tourism Information Centre how much information there is on the rest of Iceland. So that's great.
Yeah, we put a lot of focus on the rest of Iceland.
Good.
So yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to say, we, the neighbors, we love the city. Because we get all the data for passengers. And also the campaign they did with Costa-Rica with Expo Nature. Was our favorite.
Yeah.
But of course, we are also trying to steal from because you're saying come to the stop and stay with us.
Yeah.
Take photos today.
So,
I think what will happen, and that, as I was saying, because because the hotel accommodation was fully booked in Reykjavik, it will push visitors to the other side. And last summer, when we had people coming to the tourist information center looking for hotels and everything was fully booked, we said, go to Stykkishólmur, it's a beautiful area. We have, and we assisted them on booking hotels there. So just for an instance.
I'm going to draw it close so you can have. Thank you, Áshildur.
Thank you so much.